May the sound of this bell penetrate deep into the cosmos. Even in the darkest spots, living beings are able to hear it clearly, so that all suffering in them ceases. Understanding comes to their heart, and they transcend the path of sorrow and death. The universal Dharma door is already open. The sound of the rising tide is heard clearly. The miracle happens. A beautiful child appears in the heart of the lotus flower. One single drop of this compassionate water is enough to bring back the refreshing spring to our mountains and rivers. Listening to the bell, I feel the afflictions in me begin to dissolve. My mind calm, my body relaxed. A smile is born on my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath brings me back to the safe island of mindfulness. In the garden of my heart, the flowers of peace bloom beautifully. We will now resume noble silence until 10 o'clock. like to invite our incense lighters to come forward, please. If you turn to the inside of your chant book, we have the incense offering that we'll say together. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning. My name is Kunga Nyima. I'm one of the Dharma teachers here at the temple. It's great to have you all here with us this morning. I wanted to start with a couple service announcements. We have bathrooms down there in the basement. Just enter through the left here, the dais. We also have bathrooms upstairs through the curtains on the left there. If you need to get up for any reason during the service, please walk around the back, go through the side. If you have children and you attend service, there is a place downstairs for the children to play if they need to take a break as well. When we do our chanting, please be mindful of your voice. Chant loud enough so that you can hear yourself, but not so loud that you can't hear everyone else, so that we can all mindfully chant together. At this time, I invite everyone to stand up and silently greet each other with bows. Then we will be chanting the 3 refuges from our chant book. I believe that's on page 7.
Of refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts.
On page 8, we will chant the Heart Sutra together.
Dhamma Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering. No cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharma, the radiant fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, para sabgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para sabgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para sabgate, bodhisvaha. Dharma, prajna, paramita, hridaya, sutra.
Please be seated.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Like I said before, my name is Kunga Nyima. I'm one of the Dharma teachers here. Just last month, I was ordained as a teaching monk here at the temple. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk a little bit about that. The traditions of the ceremony that we did, the symbolism of the ceremony, kind of what all that's about. Before I do that, though, I wanted to express gratitude for all the volunteers that helped out this morning. Devisacha came and helped early with grading and setting up camp books. We have Biapchi Kent in the tech room running the tech for us. Igesu here helping out as our Ananda, helping to get the bathrooms clean and get everything set up. Just remind you that is a wonderful opportunity for you to deepen your practice, is to come at 9 o'clock. That's when we start setting up. It's pretty simple. We'll tell you exactly what to do. It's just a way for you to kind of deepen your practice, bring that idea that everyday activities is really what the practice is all about. So we're always looking for volunteers. This morning it was just a few of us. So if you are able to come, please come next Sunday. So the ordination ceremony is something that can trace its roots back to the Buddha 2,500 years ago. The ceremony that we provided last month was based on the Soto Zen tradition. We had two of our Dharma Council members are Soto Zen monks, novice monks, Reverend San Shin, though I'm not sure if we should be switching that over, how we designate them, but we'll talk about that. San Shin and Shin Kyu were both ordained as Soto Zen monks, novice monks, February by their teacher, Reverend Shuji. And because we have that history with our current Dharma Council, and also we have a history of Korean Zen, which is what this temple was founded in, when we presented our ordination ceremony, we tried to combine those two traditions. So the Soto Zen monks will go on and study in a monastery for 6 months in order to become full monks. Shinkyu is actually doing that right now at a monastery in Nebraska, Zen Center in Nebraska. The small monastery, I believe he's the only monk living there. Myself, I was ordained as a teaching monk, and the idea is that I'll still be teaching as a householder. I won't be furthering my study in a monastery, basically just dedicating my time to teaching here at the temple, as well as, maintaining my regular full-time job as a hospice social worker. It's been a long time since we've done a teaching ordination here, just in the Grand Rapids Buddhist tradition, at least 3 years. That was 3 years ago is when we decided to focus our practice, and we came up with the name, the Heartside Mindfulness School of Mahayana Buddhism. So that's what we teach here. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. So I'm going to talk about some of the main aspects of the ceremony from last month. I'm going to talk about the chants, the head shaving, the sitting cloth and the Sangati robe, and also the lineage scrolls and prostrations. Those are all important parts of that procedure. I thought it would be best just to kind of tell you what things meant and sort of go through the form of the actual service. So the service started out with the chants. The first chant that we did at the 9:30 chant was the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva. This is actually a Tibetan chant. We don't have it as part of our normal chant, but it's a chant that I learned in my studies with Tibetan Buddhism. This temple, even though it was founded in Korean Zen, it has a long history since we became independent of offering Tibetan traditions. We have the Lojong service, which is a Tibetan practice. And we also study the way of the Bodhisattva during our Bodhisattva training. Myself and Igesu are both studying in Tibetan traditions right now, different lineages. And in following with that, in August, Igesu will be giving Introduction to Meditation class from the Tibetan perspective. That'll be for the second time. So we encourage you to sign up for that. Think about coming to that. That is on a Saturday. After we did the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva, we did our Heart Sutra and our 3 refuges that we normally do. And then we did homage to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And this is the chant that we learn in the Bodhisattva class. And it's really about expressing appreciation for all the teachers that have gone before us. You know, all those spiritual teachers. It might be formally, like someone at temple, or it might be someone informally, someone you read a book by or something like that. The reason behind these chants, or one of the reasons, is to develop our appreciation and our practice for what we're actually chanting about. So if you think about this from a scientific perspective, anything that we repeat becomes like a pathway that's just easier to repeat. It becomes like a habit. So when we're repeating these chants, we're basically internalizing these pathways, these bodhisattva pathways. So it's more natural, easier for us to practice. Okay? So every time we learn, memorize, and repeat a chant, we're basically stabilizing that aspiration to help other beings, reduce the suffering of other beings. The first part of the ordination service is called Entering the Life of the Buddha. And this involved the ritual shaving of the monk's head. So I have hair now, but on last month, Venerable Yang Su, sitting, where is Venerable? Right there, shaved my head down so I was completely bald. Okay? So this is an ancient tradition for monks coming into the Sangha. The Buddha was really a radical at the time. When he was starting his Sangha, he invited all people to be a part of the Sangha. So it didn't matter what caste you were from in India, the poorest to the wealthiest were invited. It didn't matter if you were men or women, all were invited to become monks. And one of the ways to break down this idea of the ego was to have everyone look the same. Everyone gave up all their possessions to become a monk. They were given 3 robes and a bowl, and they had their heads shaved, so everybody looked alike. So this is like an way to kind of overcome this idea of ego. You didn't have to worry about someone being dressed nicer than someone else if everyone's wearing the same thing. You didn't worry about someone's having a nicer hairstyle or jewelry or whatever. So when I had my head shaved, it was like a nod to this tradition to try to work towards giving up ego and attachment to things, and giving up my attachment to my long hair. The next part of the ceremony involves receiving the sitting cloth and the Sangati robe. Okay? So that if you can't see the sitting cloth, I'm sitting it under here on it right now. The idea is to keep your robes clean. So the tradition was that during ancient times, monasteries varied in what they could offer the visiting monks based on who the benefactors were. So if you had a monastery you were visiting which didn't have a lot of money, the place where the monks had to sit for meditation may not be very clean or dry. So the Buddha initiated this very practical idea that everyone would have a sitting cloth to go with their robes, and they'd always have a clean, dry place to sit by putting down their sitting cloth. In the sitting cloth, we hand sew. This is the tradition of Soto Zen that I adapted. And then the next part of so I got the sitting cloth. The next thing I received was the Sangati robe. Okay. And so this is the robe that I'm wearing now. In our tradition that we're doing here at the temple, the Dharma teachers, after they've been ordained to Dharma, after the first year, they receive a robe. Okay. But this robe that I'm wearing now was one that I actually sewed. And then when Sun Shin and Shin Ki received their robes for their ordination as monks, they also sewed their robes as well. And so these are sewed from, as it said in the instruction, there was like 9 panels. Each panel has 2 long pieces to represent wisdom and 1 short piece to represent delusion. And the story goes that the Buddha came up with this idea for the pattern of this robes because him and Ananda were walking in the mountains. They were looking out over the beautiful rice field patterns. And the Buddha said to Ananda, I think we should sew our robes into this type of pattern. The robes were already being made from pieces of fabric. The tradition was that you would find fabric that was thrown away, soiled in some way. You would get a clean patch of it, wash it, clean it, and then sew it into the robes. And then now we have this tradition of sewing the robes into this series of rectangles. Shuji said that her students could use a sewing machine. Usually you would hand sew them, but I guess maybe acknowledging that we're all working in the real world and we're not just full-time monks, she said we could use a sewing machine. It still took about 60 hours to sew the robe. It's kind of a complicated pattern, lots of overlapping and things. The idea is it's just another practice for mindfulness, right? Just kind of focusing on what you're doing, following instruction. So the traditional robes that you may have seen, like in depictions of ancient Buddhism, will be like saffron colored or yellow colored. And the idea was that this was a color that was close to the color of the earth in that country. And this would be a way to, have all the monks look the same. In our tradition here at the temple, we're using brown robes in a similar type of idea. The brown robe is supposed to represent impermanence and interdependence. The brown is the color of the earth. Everything depends on the earth to exist. Everything grows from the earth. So that's the interdependence. And then the impermanence also relates to the earth because everything, once it dies, returns to the earth to be reused. So traditionally, the monk would have 3 robes. The first robe would kind of be like their undergarments. The next robe would be their regular clothes. And then the third robe would be like their robe they wore on formal occasions. So here at the temple, our monks are wearing 3 robes as well. The first robe is the temple grays. So you'll see like our Dharma disciples have our temple grays on. Anybody who takes the preceptor class is invited to wear the temple grays. And these are in the tradition of Korean Zen. So, and the idea is these are working clothes. So these are to remind you that anything you're doing, emptying the trash, cleaning the bathrooms, putting out the chant books, greeting people when they come to the temple, lighting the incense, all these things are fruits for your spiritual practice. If you're not going to have enlightenment during those activities, there's not any other time you could have them. You can only have it in that moment, that present moment. So the preceptors, after they complete that class, they're invited to wear temple grays. Our next precept class is coming up in September. It's on the website, so if you'd like to register, I encourage you to register for that. And then the Dharma teachers here at the temple wear their grays, and then they wear a brown robe over the top. And the brown robe is made in that fashion. Though we bought ours, they came from China, but they're sewn in that same idea of panels, long panels and short panels, using that rice field pattern. And then for the monks, they have another robe, and that's this golden sleeve Chinese robe. So this was the sleeve, the robe that the monks at the temple were wearing before we decided to change our tradition to the Heartside School of Mindfulness. But we wanted to incorporate all those traditions into our current robe. So you can think of these golden robes as maybe like the Buddha nature that we all have, that we're trying to uncover through our meditation practice or through our daily practice. And so I'm wearing this underneath the brown robe. Parts of the yellow are exposed, the gold are exposed. And the idea is that, through our activity, we're trying to expose that enlightened nature every moment we have. There's a Tibetan practice where you're visualize the Buddha Shakyamuni Buddha with a golden skin. The gold signifying the spirituality, the richness of the enlightenment experience. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the lineage scrolls. So after I received the robes and the mat, I think what we did next was we did maybe the lineage scroll. And what this is this is the record of all the transmissions from student to teacher, teacher to student, starting with the Buddha all the way down to the present day. So if you look under that Enso picture on that wall right there, there's that little frame picture. Those are all of Venerable Yangsu's teacher, going all the way back to the Buddha. So the idea is that the Buddha, had students that he authorized to teach, and then those students authorized students to teach, and just going down from person to person all the way down to our present day. So I counted up, there's about I think there's 83 ancestors on that chart, including the Buddha. So if you look at that closely, you'll see that our lineage starts in India, and then it goes to China, then it goes to Korea, and then it comes to America. And now we're, spreading it throughout the United States as much as we can. The lineage scroll that I received is a little bit different than that. I brought it here for my show and tell. So this is the lineage scroll. This is based on the Soto Zen tradition. On Saturdays, I usually sit with Just Sit, which is a Soto Zen group that Shinkyu and Sanshin also sit with, and Yangsu also. And Reverend Shuji runs that group. And she always had this hanging on the wall behind her. So I've been sitting with her for a couple of years, and I always admired that. So I got permission to incorporate that design when I did my lineage chart. So these are actually my lineage, which I received from Venerable Yangsu. And you can think of that red line as kind of like a bloodline, following from teacher to student all the way down to Venerable Yangsu and myself at the very end. And then you'll notice there's like a line going up on the right side. And that's sort of, I think for me, that's a reminder, always check what you're learning with the source. Always go back to the foundational teachings to make sure that what you're learning, corresponds with that. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the prostrations. So there were several times during the service, the ordination service, where I did full prostrations. Usually there's 3 prostrations at a time, and they are to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So these are when I'm bowing, and with a full prostration in this tradition of the temple, you bow down, put your knees down, put your forehead down, and put your hands flat in front of you. And then you go back up. And the idea is that you're just expressing gratitude and humility for the Buddha who brought the teachings here, to the Dharma, the actual teachings of the Buddha, and to the Sangha, the community that supports you, the community that supports you here at the temple, but maybe the community that supports you at home in your regular life as well. But all those people, you couldn't have done it without them. They're all a part of this. So just throughout the ceremony, there's different chimes to kind of express that gratitude. So the last thing I want to do today is I want to do a sitting practice. We'll take a 15-minute sitting. And during this practice, I want you to think a little bit about your support system. Who supports you in your practice? We have the support of the entire Buddhist lineage there, which is on that chart there. All the Buddhist teachers from India to China to Korea to America, they are all providing support to your practice. Anybody who's read a book, written a book about Buddhism that you read is providing support to your practice. You have the support of all the teachings that you've received, teachings you've heard here at the temple, teachings you've learned on your own at other places, teachings you get in your everyday life just from family and friends. And then you have the support of your Sangha, support of this community. So when you're sitting there and you're in your posture, maybe just put that, you don't have to think about that but just sort of sit with the intention that you want to acknowledge that support you received from all of your ancestors and all the support you received. So I invite you to get into a comfortable sitting posture. You can cross your knees in front of you. You can either sit up in the lotus position, or you can Just have your knees folded in front of you in a comfortable position. If you're sitting in a chair, just placing your feet flat on the ground. Try to sit up straight. Pull your shoulders back. Put your right hand inside of your left hand. Pull them up against your stomach. Thumbs lightly touching just below your belly button. Trying to sit up with nice head and shoulders. Maybe having your head tilt a little bit forward so you're looking down at the ground, about a 45-degree angle. You can have your eyes open or closed or slightly open. You can judge how awake you are. If you're feeling really drowsy, sometimes keeping your eyes open is a good way to stay awake. Place your tongue at the top of your mouth. And then for your focus of awareness, just be aware of your breathing. The breath coming in through your nose or throat or into your stomach, and the breath going out. You could start out by counting. Each in and out breath is one breath. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and start over. Or you can just go straight to just sitting in the moment and just being aware of that breath. And then somewhere in the back of your head, just remember you're not doing this alone. We're all supporting you. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the past are supporting you. So the next portion of our service is joys and concerns. This is an opportunity for all of us to practice the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So we can think of these simply as loving kindness is the wish for others to be happy. Compassion is the wish for others to have a reduction in their suffering. Sympathetic joy is our ability to share in the happiness of others. And equanimity is a way for us to be even in our life so that we're not thrown around by really periods of great joy or periods of great sadness, that we can maintain some stability despite what's going on in the world around us. Doesn't mean we can't experience joy and sadness. It's just that even though we're experiencing them, we don't lose control of ourselves in those times. So if you have a joy or a concern you would like to share with the temple, please signal with your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ellen. I have an update on our friend Ben. Unfortunately, he's back in the hospital after stem cell. Lots of times those white blood cells just drop right down to zero. And as they're trying to climb back up again, it's an opportunity for infection to set in. So that's exactly what happened. But he's where he should be. He's being taken care of. So please hold space with him. He's watching. Hi, Ben. Hi, Ben. And hopefully he'll be back here sometime soon.
Good morning, Sangha. I have a joy and a concern. I'll start with a concern. One of our friends at Guide and Light, somebody I really looked up to and was inspired by, it's had a really hard life. Relapsed in the last week, started drinking, and so he got exited from the program and he went to rehab, and he left there too. So he's really suffering right now. Yeah, so I'm really concerned for him right now. And today I woke up, I did my prayers and I did my water bowl ritual and I did my affirmations and I'm taking a shower and I'm reflecting over things. And I just suddenly had this realizing, I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea in this life. No idea. And all of a sudden I just exploded with joy. And I was so much freedom. And just be like, I have no idea. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm so happy. It's awesome. And so I thought I'd share that. Anyway, thank you.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Justin. I would just like to express a joy I have. These past couple of weekends, especially on Sundays, I scheduled myself to work overtime. While I'm grateful that I earned more monetary money for myself, I also did miss being able to come here these past couple of weekends in order to feel the liberation as well as the sense of relief of being around a community. So me finally being here after 2 weeks of overtime has it's really starting to take an effect on me. So I'm very grateful for that.
I'll share a joy. It's really wonderful to be here. When I was here last month, I didn't get a chance to talk. It was all about the service, but it's really nice to be back here and get to see everyone attending. It's really wonderful to have the support of the temple here in Grand Rapids. I live in St. Joe. It's about an hour, 20 minutes away. And, people don't think we have this kind of thing in Michigan, so it's just a treasure. Thank you for all helping us keeping it going. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Iggy Sue. Just sharing a joy of community. We had a Sojong ceremony yesterday. And for those of you who don't know what Sojong is, it's an opportunity for practitioners who hold vows to come together and admit where we are falling short on keeping our vows, and just reflecting on knowing that we could do better, and just having that opportunity to be with that community to support one another, and recognize that we all feel the same way. We all are in the same boat, and also in the sense of amplifying the good things that we're doing in supporting one another, and what are other good things that we're doing in our life, much similar to joys and concerns. So it was really refreshing, especially after a week of emotional ups and downs as my dance students navigated a week-long 12-hour-a-day dance intensive at our studio last week. So just really grateful for community and being able to come together and have that.
And that was a ceremony you had with your online community, is that right? Yes. You didn't miss anything. It wasn't actually here at the temple. Anything online? Okay. All right, we'll just take a moment to hold those joys and concerns in our heart. All right, I would like to present some temple-related announcements. We still have an online meditation group. Meets on Wednesdays from 6 to 6:45 p.m. during the summer. Just send me a message if you're interested, though the information is on the website under events. You can just click right in. You don't have to make any special arrangements or anything to join that. We also have the Avantamsaka Sutra study group, which meets here Thursdays at the temple. I have the schedule for July 11th and 25th for July. Contact Will Allington or Reverend Juesen Shu. For more information and see the newsletter, there's also a link in the website as well for that. Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple board meeting is today, the 21st, at 11:30 to 1. If you'd like to observe that, we invite you to observe that. The board is responsible for all the nuts and bolts of keeping this temple here for us, making sure our bills are paid, checking our finances, making sure that everything is in running order, lights are in good shape, all those things. And so we are always looking for people to assist us with the board. You do need to have completed the precepts, so that's another reason to take the precepts if you haven't done so. But if you'd like to just see what the board is like, you're welcome to attend as a guest. We have the Summer Silent Retreat on Saturday, July 27th. That's next Saturday. It's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can sign up online for that. So that's an opportunity for you to practice sort of give you a sense of what it's like to kind of be in a monastery, where your whole day is scheduled around mindfulness and practice. We start out the day with some chanting. We do sitting meditation. We do walking meditation. We have a Lojong service, which I mentioned earlier. We have mindful eating. It's a vegetarian potluck, which people bring in. We do a mindful eating practice during that. We have work practice instructions, basically helping to keep the temple looking good and learning how to bring that mindfulness into your everyday work practice. Also, then we end the day with more sitting meditation and a discussion at the end. There's also an opportunity for you to meet one-on-one with teachers at that time, just kind of discuss how your practice is going. So I highly recommend it. It's only $25, and like all of our activities that we offer here, if you have any kind of financial barrier, you just need to speak with the instructor. No one is ever turned away for not being able to afford to come to a service. Everything's provided by volunteers, but we do still need some funds for the bills and things, but for our classes, we want them to be open to everyone. The next class, Introduction to Meditation from Tibetan Perspective. Maybe Igesu could say a little bit about that.
That will be on August 10th, 9 to noon. We'll spend a couple portions practicing sitting, and the focus is shamatha meditation, which is single-pointed concentration. It's based off of the 9 steps of meditation as taught by Master Kamalashila, as well as a little bit of a deep dive into what those 9 levels are. And where you can navigate your practice a little bit better on your own at home and be able to dive into that progression of shamatha meditation.
We also are offering a Foundation to Buddhism class, and I believe that the Saturday following yours on the 17th from 9 to 12. Reverend Joyce Shu and Reverend San Shin will be presenting that. And that'll give you, that's a good class to go if you just want to learn more about, Buddhism, basics of it. Where does it come from? What's it about? How can I have a basic practice of my own? You'll do sitting meditation. You'll learn about how to do sitting meditation, prostrations, walking meditation. It's a good overview of the practices we do here at the temple and why we do them. So I recommend that. And you can go online with all these classes. We have a great website. You just go to events, and for all these classes, you can sign up online for these classes, and you can pay for PayPal and things like that online too. Lastly, we have Buddhist-based recovery meetings Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 6:30 p.m. on Mondays, 7 p.m. as a meditation. 7 p.m. is actually the meeting at the temple. Wednesdays at the Alano Club at 6:30. And Fridays, 10:05 meditation, 10:30 meeting at Garfield Park, or join via Zoom. And also, we do have a preceptor class coming up, training class that starts in September. That's a pretty in-depth class. So you basically, when you take the preceptor class from September through end of November, you're agreeing to come to temple every Sunday. You're going to work practice in the mornings, help set up. You're going to learn how that works. You're going to have like a mini lecture from the teacher about some aspect of our practice here. And then every other week, we'll have an hour-long meeting. We have a text that we read together, the Dhammapada. You're required to keep journals about that, and you submit those every week. So it's a really way to kind of jumpstart your practice or deepen your practice if you've been thinking about that. You also receive a Dharma name at the end of completion of the preceptor class. So we provide Sanskrit names. So if you're looking at our list there, of the lineage list, all the teachers in India all have these Sanskrit names, and then they have, Chinese names when it's in China and Korean names in Korea. And so now we're in the US. So rather than just giving you like a layperson name, I don't know, they do that in Plum Village. They'll give you like, Lotus Blossom or something like that, an English name. But we've decided to go with the Sanskrit names. So that's what we provide to our Dharma students when they complete the preceptor class. So encourage you to do that as well. Now we will all stand and, I think there's one more thing I wanted to say. When you're done, after we do our final chants, please put your flyers back neatly into the chant book. We will have someone go around and collect the chant books from you. Make sure your cushion is straight and flat the way you found it. And we do have a short tea time downstairs, and then we'll have a couple meetings at 11:30. So we'll have to usher people on to continue their meetings elsewhere if you like. But thank you again. So please stand and we'll do our closing gathas. This is on page 9.
Wrong, skillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts. Now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion. a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain.
Invite the right side here to take the center. Left side to take the center. My bow to each other. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.